Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my director spotlight on Juzo Itami, who began his directing career in 1962 with a short film, but he did not begin directing feature-length titles until 1984. After that, he stayed active in directing until 1997. This is an incredibly short period of time for a directing career, especially in comparison to some of the other directors that I've covered in this playlist, some of whom were active for 4 or 5 decades. Itami was only active for 14 years, and that's the main reason why I'm limiting my list to a top 5 instead of a top 10 or higher. The man only directed 10 feature-length films in his entire career, primarily because he started when he was about 50 years old, despite being an actor for many years prior to that. So you should not assume that Itami is a lesser director because of the brevity of this list. All of the films in his filmography are worth watching, actually, and they frequently incorporate comedy and drama together very well. Now, one thing that I need to mention is that Itami passed away in 1997 under dubious circumstances. He fell off of a building to his death, and a suicide note was found. However, there are rumors that he was actually assassinated by a Yakuza group. The rumor may seem a little far-fetched at first, but he was attacked viciously by the Yakuza just a few years prior in 1992 because a particular group of Yakuza disliked how they were portrayed in his films. So the circumstances surrounding his death are a bit muddled, and I think there was an interview with a journalist at one point who said that he interviewed one of these thugs, and the thug basically told him what happened, and it wasn't a suicide. But it's, the whole situation is up in the air, and it's very, very uncertain and muddled as to what exactly happened on that rooftop that day. But let's get to the list here. My thoughts on each film will be very brief, primarily because this is a list video, not a review. And remember, titles for all of the movies I discuss are listed in the description box below. I am not providing availability information in this playlist because most of these films I saw years ago, and availability has changed over time. My usual method for checking availability is Google, so be sure to check out and seek out any of these films that may seem interesting to you. So let's do it. Number 5, Supermarket Woman, 1996. This is a comedy drama. This film is about a poorly managed supermarket that gets some competition when a bargains galore supermarket opens up in the same neighborhood. The manager decides to hire a woman who is knowledgeable in the business to clean up the store's operations. The script gets into the details of how to run the store and deal with customers. For example, there's a group of surly butchers who cause quite a bit of problems with their strong-headedness. The story is somewhat predictable, but this is very enjoyable. Number 4, The Funeral, 1984, drama comedy. After an old man dies, this episodic film moves from one incident to another over the course of the 3-day funeral, which is held in the home. Now, this contrasts old ways and new ways comically, getting rather detailed in how it shows the pre-funeral arrangements with the family members as well as the actual rituals themselves. The humor is laid back and quaint, some of which might go over the viewer's head if they're not paying close attention. There is one sexually charged scene that may not be appropriate for young viewers, but Itami won the Japanese Academy Prize for Director of the Year for his work on this film. The Funeral is considered by some critics to be one of the best Japanese films of the 1980s. Number 3, A Taxing Woman from 1987 and A Taxing Woman's Return from 1988. These are drama comedies. Yeah, I'm cheating a bit by including both of these in the same slot, but they're both equally deserving of being included on this list. In A Taxing Woman, a government tax agent is given the tough assignment to catch an elusive tax evader. Itami provides a film with some well-written moments, for example, the pachinko sting, and some detailed strategies by both tax agents and tax evaders. It's actually pretty interesting. Some groovy 1980s music is used, which I always appreciate. Itami won another Japanese Academy Prize for Director of the Year for his work on this film. In the sequel, A Taxing Woman's Return, The antagonists are attempting to evict people from an apartment complex so they can build a skyscraper. Now, there's lots of criminal blackmail, lengthy government raids, and a bit of nudity. It's important to note that the lead actress, Nobuko Miyamoto, also starred in the first Taxing Woman film and appeared as the female lead in many of Itami's films. She was his wife at the time, which could be a red flag under different circumstances because some directors like to cast their spouses or relatives or friends despite a lack of acting talent in their movies. But there's nothing to fear in the case of Nobuko Miyamoto because this woman has legitimate acting talent and serves as a vital component to the entertainment value of Itami's films. A Taxing Woman's Return and the first film as well are two examples of that for sure. Next, number 2, The Gentle Art of Japanese Extortion, 1992. This is a drama comedy. A hotel hires an attorney to help them deal with the local Yakuza, who employ a variety of schemes to extort the hotel out of money. Now, as I alluded to earlier, Itami was violently attacked by Yakuza after making this film because they were apparently angry at how they were portrayed in it. And one can kind of see why, because the Yakuza here rely on petty little tricks to harass and bully the hotel staff and guests. Regardless of the situation surrounding the film, this is an engaging story with a well-written script and some good dialogue. It's actually one of Itami's more briskly paced and energetic endeavors. And my personal favorite Juzo Itami film is, not surprisingly, Tampopo, 1985. This is a comedy. So this movie revolves completely around food. The main story is about a trucker, actually a few truckers, who ride into town to help a lady set up or perfect her ramen noodle restaurant. So woven into the main story are a number of smaller subplots, like a business lunch meeting, some food connoisseurs, a suave ladies' man who uses food on his partner for sexual fulfillment, etc. The humor is grounded in everyday events, yet is indescribably absurd at the very same time. With supporting roles by actors like Koji Akusho and Ken Watanabe, this has some faces that will be familiar to movie fans even today. There are more memorable scenes in this to shake a stick at. A lot of good stuff here. It's a very unique experience, but do not watch it on an empty stomach. Some critics consider this to be the best film in Itami's filmography, and I generally agree with that. It's also very highly acclaimed. So those were my personal favorite Juzo Itami films. I hope this list can provide some recommendations for those of you who are unfamiliar with this director. And if you've seen some of his films already, tell me some of your favorites in the comments section below. And as always, we'll see you next time.